Chad Brendel, Keegan Nicholson, BearcatJournal.com here with offensive coordinator Brad Glenn. Brad, it's been busy. This is the first class. We joked off camera we should be in here interviewing about last class, but there wasn't much to last class. So for this year, we'll stick to this class, and then maybe next year we'll revisit. We'll get to the high school kids first.
Okay.
We'll start with quarterback Samaj Jones. That is somebody that Coach Satterfield and Pete have been on for a long time.
Sure.
I'm assuming as soon as you got here, you jumped right in on that as well. Tell us about Samaj. He's a champion.
Yep.
What defines him as coming into the Bearcat program?
You talk about the process of signing a kid. Samaj, I can remember my first conversation with him goes all the way back when I was at Virginia Tech. I made some phone calls to him recruiting for the Hokies. So this process lasts a year, 2 years sometimes with guys. So it's finally good to get them to the finish line, like we were talking about earlier. But Samaj, obviously, a dual threat guy, something we look for and have success with in quarterbacks. He's actually a triple threat guy. I like to say he can beat you with his arm, beat you with his legs, beat you with his mind. He's got a great football IQ. Comes from a tremendous program, St. Joe's Prep. I think they've won it twice now, back to back. He had a phenomenal career there. Those guys do a heck of a job developing those players. We took Elijah to at receiver, there from St. Joe. So we think he can come in. He's a nice piece of clay to work with and mold, into a starter, down the road. So excited about him.
I've asked Coach Sat this. I asked Coach Brown. I'll ask you. What's the importance level of kids from winning programs? Kids that, because they're going to be coached right. They're going to be in the right culture. Their strength and conditioning is going to be on point. Like, not that it's the be all end all, but when you see a kid from a St. Joe's Prep, do you look at it and go, okay?
It holds a lot of weight because the foundation's there. They've been coached the right way. They understand the process. Sometimes strength and conditioning levels is a lot greater coming from programs like that to put a lot into it. So it does. It ticks up a notch when you see a guy from a successful program like that.
When you got here, did you call him and go, hey, guess who?
Yeah. Those phone calls we had, in different colors.
Jake Wheelock, probably projects inside, I would guess.
Inside, guard probably, but definitely interior. He loves the Bearcats. I think he was here just about for every game, being right up the road. But I think he was our first commitment, in this class. So he loves us. He wants to be here. And that's part of it too. Yeah. You want to take kids that have that in their blood, that want to be at a school, that want to be as successful at this program. So we're excited about him. Big, strong guy, can move well for his size. So a bright future for him, definitely.
Tight end Gavin Grover, 6'6", 220 out of Olentangy. Is he one of those guys with that frame that just makes you excited to coach football, basically?
Well, being a former quarterback coach, you love guys with big catch radiuses.
Yeah.
So both these tight ends, Gavin and Devin, tons of length. I think Gavin caught like 60-something passes. So athletic, big 11 touchdowns, can get in the end zone. We love to use our tight ends, down in the red zone. So he'll fit right in with that. I think he's good, blocking on the second and third levels, has the length and the feet to be able to do that. So excited about him. And Devin, Devin, another athletic guy with tons of length, strength, was a great basketball player. So excited about the athletic ability in that room.
Is Devin one of those maybe two-way tight ends where you feel just as comfortable lining him up in line or lining them up out to be able to
for
make
sure,
some plays?
for sure, and you love to get those guys. I call them jokers. If you play cards, a joker's good in all hands, so they can play in multiple spots, whether it be inline tight end, H back, flex him out, full back. So you're excited about those guys that can do stuff like that.
And Gavin's one of those guys
Same
that passes the look test.
Same thing, for sure. Both those guys pass the look test for sure.
You'd see them on the sidelines before games, and instantly it's like, who is? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
They look the part.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Wide receiver Dakari Anderson from Georgia just won a state championship, had a big game. Coach Satterfield talked about how good of a leader he is.
He is. Dakari can do a bunch of different things. They played him at slot. They played him outside. I think they handed the ball off to him a few times. I think he took a few snaps at Wildcat quarterback along the way. But good kid, good leader, works hard, has the intangibles. And that's the one thing as coaches, we can just, you throw on a film, you see a highlight film, you can assess their athletic skill and their talent. Sometimes you don't know. You can't plug them into the wall and the intangibles pop up. And that's what's going to make them or break them.
Yeah.
And he seems like, talking with his coaches, we got a good relationship with that staff down there. Those guys, they just seem like he's got all the intangibles that you want. The discipline, wants to be great, obsessed with improvement. So extremely excited about him.
And then Cale Woodburn, kind of a similar archetype. Rather undersized, but just a really, really quick and speedy receiver.
The first thing that stands out about Cale when you pop on his highlight tape is just the speed.
Yeah.
The linear speed. Again, a guy that plays at a great program. He's gone up against stiff competition his entire career. So that excites you, but just a guy that can come in and you think can knock the top off of a coverage, which is needed for us.
Did he play Little League Baseball? Warner Robbins?
Warner Robbins, yeah. He may have, I'm not sure about that. I don't know that, but
there's a defensive lineman here that played for Warner Robbins back in the day.
Yeah.
So maybe continue the lineage. Two guys that you kind of acted after you saw high school tape, and Aiden Pastoriza and Zach Clark.
Yep.
How important on offensive linemen is it to maybe get a view of that? What do they look like as a senior? Because these guys are big, they're developing later than most guys. And then what was it in both that caught your eye?
Both those guys, again, length, flexibility, great feet. They both kind of play with a chip on their shoulder, tough kids. So anytime you can get that type length at the tackle position for pass protection and the type zone schemes that we do, you jump on those guys because they're hard to find. So we did, and we like both those guys.
Talked to Sat about this in the press conference. Going in the portal and getting offensive linemen isn't overly realistic because the ones that can play are their bank accounts look a lot better than they did before they went into the portal.
New age.
There's so few of them, and everybody wants them.
Right.
How important is it to hit on two guys like this?
Huge, because again, they're that piece of clay there that they have the traits. Now you got to mold them, and you feel like they have, again, the intangibles, the mindset. They want to be coached hard. Again, they're coming from good programs. They're coming from playing against good talent, good brands of football. So anytime you can get those, you jump on them and you take as many as you can get.
Jacorian Cathy, running back, had a really good career at Avon, their all-time leading rusher. Yeah. What did you see from him on his film that just provided so much consistency, and how looking forward are you to him coming here?
The combination of size and speed. And with him, he's got good speed, but it's more just his lateral cuts, his lateral quickness that you see, the ability to make somebody miss that's unblocked on that second or third level in the hole. You love to have that. I think he's a complete back as far as good hands. It seems like good in pass pro in some of his film. But again, that combination of size, speed, lateral quickness, toughness. He's got a ton of carries in high school, so that's what excites you.
Elijah Jones, wide receiver, St. Joe's Prep, caught a lot of passes from Samaj.
Yeah.
Looks like he has a really good build and really natural hands.
Natural hands, good build, great kid, smart, good grades, high football IQ. He's kind of that complete package, that you look for in a receiver. There's not just necessarily one trait there that stands out above the rest. It's just the combination of everything. And again, great parents. They've just shaped him into a quality human being, and you see that, and you got to have that these days.
I would ask you about we'll move to transfers. I'd ask you about your quarterback, but Keegan here is He's an IU alum,
Oh yeah.
and so he's probably watched Brendan Sorsby as much as you guys.
Yeah.
So Keegan, I'll
Well,
let
you tell me about it then.
I mean, I didn't know who he was until he committed to Indiana.
Really?
That's how under-recruited he was.
Yeah, very under recruited.
Yeah.
But again, size, the traits are there.
Mhm.
The thing that stands out to me is how fast he can get the ball out of his hand.
Yeah.
You know, quick release, strong arm. You know, he was a guy through the process that we kind of saw early on and said, that's our guy.
Yeah.
You know, let's go get him.
Yeah.
And it was kind of unanimous among, you know, myself, Coach Satt, Coach Thomas, the staff. Hey, that's the guy. He's got the traits we're looking for. And so we kind of identified him early on and went and got him. And, you know, so excited about him just because of all the stuff that he brings. His best football, you know, obviously is ahead of him.
Yeah.
He's got 3 years to play. Again, comes from a quality program, you know, a great area there in Texas for high school football. And then when you go meet him, just his personality, his demeanor, you know, has all the traits you want in a quarterback.
The offense needs more pop in the passing game. From a year ago, the running game was there.
Yep.
How does he make it instantly? Like, how does he improve that area of things?
Well, just with his skill set, you know, again, getting the ball out fast, understanding, being able to process what he sees quickly, you know, which you can see that on tape from Indiana. You can even go back and look at a little bit of his high school tape and see that he was a baseball player.
Mhm.
You know, he was a guy that played. He told me, because I was talking about his quick release, he was talking about playing middle infield early on, where you get the different arm slots, you're able to throw off balance, you're able to get it out quick. Then I think they moved him to the outfield, center field. And that's where the arm strength comes in.
Yeah.
So just a good combination of both those things. And I think the sky's the limit for him. We're as excited as can be about.
And then
They thought too highly of him to put him in catcher, though, right?
catches of the best arms. I want that on the
Okay.
record. And then not a true elite dual threat, but can definitely impact the game with his legs.
He's not a statue back there at
Yeah.
all. You know, you see him, and they had, you know, they ran a lot of zone read with him in Indiana, some design quarterback runs, and you know, you don't. It's great to have elite speed and quickness in the
Yeah.
quarterback run game, but you see guys all the time.
Josh Allen and small.
Yeah. You see guys all the time that can beat you with their feet, and they're not 4'4", 4'5" guys.
Yeah.
You know, Coach Satterfield's coached some of those. I've coached some of those along the way. But so he can move it with his feet too.
Mm-hmm.
Evan Pryor was at one point in time the number 2
Yeah.
multi-purpose back in the country.
Yeah.
Injury kind of got behind.
Yep.
You know, when that happens at Ohio State.
Yep.
How excited are you to get him in here and have him want to prove
Yeah.
that he's that guy that he
Well,
they said he
and
was?
that's the thing too. I think he's got a huge chip on his shoulder. You know, playing behind some guys, coming into a room with that much talent there at Ohio State. I think he's ready and excited. And again, like Brendan, his best ball is ahead of him. Complete back, good speed, great vision. Extremely excited.
So there's some, you probably don't know this reference too well, but maybe a little Jerome Ford who
I don't.
came here from Alabama. He's
Okay.
now the starting running back for the Browns.
Okay.
And was kind of the same
Similarities.
thing where
Yeah.
he got kind of buried on the depth chart with
Yeah.
a bunch of NFL
Yeah,
guys, but
yeah.
then he came here
Yeah.
and
And those guys are hungry.
yeah.
You know, because they've sat for a while. You know, they've been passed over a little bit, so they play with a chip on their shoulder, and we get to reap the benefits of that.
Wide receiver Tony Johnson from Florida Atlantic has really good ability to get to his top speed, good hands, and I've also heard that just a really high character guy that everyone loves.
Great character. Had a chance to go down to Ocala and meet with his family, meet with his mom. You know, you can tell, and he is a polished dude. You know, great grades. You know, he's worried, concerned about academics. You know, and just a great family. Again, a guy that has those intangibles, not only the skill set that you see when you turn on the film, but he's got the intangibles to be great and go along with it. So he'll fit in well with our receiver room. You know, our guys are low maintenance. He's a low maintenance guy. it seems like he'll fit right in.
5'11", but probably more of a field type guy, or can he play? I mean,
I think, you know, the one of the good things about him is he's a flex guy. You know, I think we can move him inside or outside, and he'd be able to pick up on both those spots.
all right, thanks, Coach. Appreciate your time.
All right, man.
Good
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.